I've used a lot of different masking papers with varying successes, and they are pretty expensive, so I thought I'd take you through my stash and do a comparison to see what's worth buying and what isn't. This first set was actually a tip I found on a Reddit forum for card makers. It's the Avery removable labels. They are quite an expensive pack, but you do get 25 sheets of A4 size, so you get a lot for your money. It's quite nice because it has a backing piece that's split and also a nice border around the edge, so it's nice and easy to peel off and it's not too tacky. The next one is this Sizzix masking film. It's the only transparent one that I'm going to show you today, and that can be really useful if you're trying to line it up with some stamped images underneath. The next one I've labelled generic. There isn't a specific brand for this, it's just the cheap masking paper that you can get from Amazon and other places like that. As you see, you get a massive stash of it, about A5 size, and it is really, really cheap. I'm then going to use this set from Craft Delier, which is based in Spain and does a lot of shipping in Europe. It does have quite a nice feel to the actual masking paper, but it is really, really tacky. It's quite hard to actually pull away from the backing sheet. And then we're going with this Gina K Masking Magic, which I hear so many card makers recommending. It's not readily available in the UK, so you do have to get it from somewhere that imports it, which does make it pretty expensive. This is a 12 pack of approximately A5 sheets, and I would say it's very similar in price to the Sizzix transfer film, which is all A4, so you're getting almost double the volume for that. In order to test these out, I'm die cutting a fairly intricate design using this Sizzix cat and wildflower die, and I'm also using black paper so that if it tears any of the card or the masking paper tears, it will be really obvious to see which is which and it will show up on camera a little bit better. The Avery one I was able to stick on pretty well. It is a little bit fiddly with some of the more intricate bits, but that did stick pretty well. And then the Sizzix, it takes a little bit to get it off the backing paper, but again, that goes on pretty well. I would say even smoother than the Avery one, particularly around the more intricate sections. That just glides on a dream. The only issue I will see with the Sizzix one is that it does seem to bubble away from the surface slightly around the edges, which could cause a problem for the crisp ink blending later on. The generic one goes on okay, nothing to write home about, but totally fine. Moving on to the Craft Delier one, I really struggled with this. It was so sticky that it was almost impossible to remove the backing paper, and particularly where we got to the sort of intricate designs, it just was a total mess trying to remove this. I've actually sped this up a little bit more than the other ones because it took me so long. And you'll see that some of the backing paper actually started to rip, so I was then having to go back and do that. In the end, it actually tore the top part of the masking paper. I didn't redo it, but obviously I won't take that section into account when I'm comparing the crisp edges of the ink blending. Then finally the Gina K Masking Magic. This peels off really easily with that split in the backing paper, and it really helps just to get the initial edge down, and then you can sort of slowly peel it off. I did rip off part of this, but this was definitely a fault of mine and not the paper itself. So now I'm using Distress Oxide because it will show up on the black paper, and I'm just smoothing down the edges of the papers before I use it. So the Avery one went on pretty well. You can see that it has lifted in a couple of places, so it'll be interesting to see if that's affected the crispness of the edges at that point. With the Sizzix one, the same problem is showing up, that it is just, even as soon as I press it down, it is really sort of bubbling up around the edges. So I'm concerned that's not going to be particularly crisp. Now moving on to the generic paper, this was pretty easy to smooth down, and it went on well. It held down really well whilst I was blending, so I was quite impressed with that one. This one looks like an absolute mess, but the ink blending actually was quite successful and it stayed down in all of the areas, probably because it is so sticky. So that was actually quite good to use once it was on the paper. And then finally with the Gina K Masking Magic, that went on really smoothly. I was really surprised that a couple of small bits lifted at the top there, but when I looked more closely, it was actually because the backing paper was still attached. I'd caught the very edge of the gap in the backing paper, so there was just a tiny bit still attached. So again, that was user error, not a fault with the masking paper. Now I'm just tearing all the papers off, and I'm trying to assess whether it could be reused, if it peels off nice and cleanly and you'd be able to reuse the mask, and also to assess how crisp the images were. So the Avery one comes off quite nicely. It is a little bit wrinkled and I'm not sure how well it'd hold up to a second use, but the image is pretty sharp and overall pretty good. The Sizzix one comes off well and you'd definitely be able to reuse this. It's very durable, and I was surprised that it's actually pretty sharp, the images, considering it had bubbled up, but I noticed that you had quite a thick edge where it sort of gathers and pulls because of the gap in the masking paper. The generic one, a total disaster. I could not peel this off. It's like peeling off a parcel label. It kept ripping and I gave up in the end. The Craftelia one, again, so sticky, really hard to get off, and it did break in a few places, so I had to go and tidy up the tiny bits because they wouldn't come off in one piece. It did actually look fairly crisp once I had taken it off, although you do have a few smudges where you have to peel off all the little smaller pieces that have broken off. And then finally the Gina K one, it comes off really well and you'd definitely be able to reuse this one. The little bit that left behind was the bit that I'd broken off. So the final rating, I'd put the generic one in last place. It's unusable. Then the Craftelia one, again, I would never opt to use this one again. The rest came out pretty well, but I think I'd put the Sizzix in third place because the edges don't stick that well. The Avery one was really, really good. I like that a lot, and it's definitely good value for money considering the amount of labels that you get. But ultimately, the Gina K Masking Magic really does live up to its reputation and was the overall winner for me. Thanks for visiting, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thank you.